What's up, guys? It's Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is Bones, Season 11, Episode 18, The Movie in the Making. So once again, there are some good things, there are some bad things, but at least there are some good things. That's one thing that this season has really been lacking, is some good stuff to talk about. This week, the case, not as interesting as last week's. It was the same old Bones formula, here's your dead body, find out who he is, find out what he's doing, talk to this person, talk to this person, talk to this person, talk to this person. We suspect all of these people except for this one guy back here. Oh, now we suspect him right at the very end. It's him. I don't know why, but that's how it always works. It's never, we suspected this guy, or, we thought it was him, and then we thought it wasn't, but now it is him. We found clues that, took away his alibi, or something like that, It would have been so much more interesting if the father was actually responsible. Like, they're talking about near the end, Booth is sitting there saying, I feel like in my gut it's not him. And then Brennan's talking about how, his gut isn't always right. His emotions can be swayed, whereas science cannot be. And according to the science right now, it's him. And I'm thinking, how interesting would that be if it actually was him? Like, they find all this evidence, and eventually Booth just has to say, you know what, I'm wrong this time. Like, he has to admit it to himself. He has to realize that he can be wrong. But once again, Booth's like, no, it's not him. I don't think it's him. And in the end, it's not him. It's the one person they haven't suspected yet. I'm just like, that. We've seen that done so many times. We've seen it done how many times that Booth's like, oh, I don't think it's that guy. Or, oh, I just get this gut feeling that it's this thing. And his gut's always right. It would be more realistic if his gut was right some of the time, and then other times it's wrong. That would be more realistic, but the show does not like to be realistic for some reason. So anyway, case aside, there was a lot of interesting stuff in this episode. Obviously, the theme of it was not something I've never seen before. I've seen it in other shows. I think this is the first time I've seen it in this show, though. They've had a few interesting episodes where there was the one that was shot from the point of view of the skull of the dead person. That was pretty weird, but also kind of interesting. This one is pretty much, The Office, the Muppets, one of those type of things where they're filming it, and then on top of that, they're filming off to the side. So it opens up the room for a lot of jokes where they're talking here in action, and then cut away to them sitting and talking to them, and then they make a joke about it. Some of them did work. In fact, this is probably one of the more funny episodes for this season. There have been a lot of episodes that tried to be funny, and I'm just not laughing. I'm just sitting there like, stupid. This one, I actually was laughing a good bit. Several moments just really cracked me up. Aubrey was at the center of most of them. Hodgins was at the center of the rest of them. The jokes really did land this time, so really nice to see that. They also had a couple moments that kind of really interest me to see. Okay, they mentioned Sweets, they mentioned Vincent, Nigel-Murray, and they mentioned Zach Addy. Now, obviously, this could just be kind of a look-back episode type thing, but it really wouldn't make any sense considering I don't think this was like a special episode. But they did bring all of that up. They brought up what it meant to the team, the death of Sweets, what it meant to Booth and Brennan, the death of Vincent Nigel-Murray, what it meant to Brennan, how that affected her. Zach Addy, his turn, Hodgins talked about what that did to him, how it affected him. It was really interesting to see all of that talked about out of nowhere. And I've wanted for a very long time, I've wanted them to do something with Zach Addy, because after what happened with him, after finding out that he was behind that one crime, working with the killer, he was taken away to the psychological institute, and then we had one episode with him where he came back to help out the team because they needed his help with something. Um, and I think that was like the fourth season that we saw him, and we haven't seen him since. We haven't even talked about him since. This is the first time really he's been talked about since season 4. You know, I want to see more with that storyline. You know, either he gets out or something happens, they need his help, or I don't know, maybe he is actually crazy. I think they talked about that. He said he wasn't really crazy, he just didn't want to end up in jail, so he said he was. But, you know, it kind of brings up a lot of the past and says they're not forgotten. Because Bones tends to have. It tends to do that. You know, it tends to have moments where you're just like, they're gone, and then they don't really get talked about. You know, when's the last time we talked about Vincent Nigel-Murray? When's the last time we talked about Sweets? When's the last time, like I said, we haven't really talked about Zach Addy since season 4. So, it has a tendency to sort of push what's in the past to the past. You know, let's not talk about it now. I do want to see some of the stuff that happened back in the past come back to haunt them. You know, that's one of the things that NCIS has done very well, and the reason why it's in season 13 and I still like it, because they do that. You know, they work some of the stuff that happened in the past, they work it into the present show. You know, they do that very well. So I would like to see Bones do that a bit more. I would like to see them do something different. Like I said, the case, I wish they would have done something different. But, you know, this episode in and of itself was very interesting. There were a lot of interesting character moments as well, I think. You know, them talking to Booth and Brennan about Christine, and Brennan wants her to be a forensic anthropologist. Booth wants her to be a hockey player, and she's like, I want to be a car salesman. And they're just both like, what? And by the end, Brennan has said, they're asking everybody, what do you want to be? And she's like, I want to be the mother of the best car salesman or salesperson ever. You know, just, it's interesting to see that change in her, that she, even though it's not necessarily what she wants, she realizes it's what Christine wants. So she's becoming a better mother in the process. Cam and Aristu finally getting back together. I didn't really like how they broke up in the first place. So this is kind of like, it's hard to explain because I do like them together. They do work well together. But getting them together again makes me feel like, why were they even apart in the first place? You know, like, why was that even a thing? And it just kind of frustrates me to think that was a thing. You know, like that. Anyway, so yeah, that was kind of frustrating. That was in the past, but now back together. So good job, you fixed it. And I do like the scenes, even though it is a bit cheesy. The scene at the end where Aristu like gets really pissed off because they keep asking about him and Cam because obviously they've noticed it. And she said several times, I don't want to talk about my personal life. He does get upset and defends her. And I'm just like, yeah, good on you, Aristu. That was really manly of you. You stood up for your woman. I like it. But ultimately, of course, Cam's just like, oh yeah, you know, I don't mind anymore. Anyway, but yeah, so it was a good episode. It was interesting. Still, the case has to get better. You know, these cases need to get a lot better. I will say if there was one problem I had with the whole filming part of it, you know, the fact that it was being filmed, I understand why they did it for this episode. I mean, when you look at the end and how it ended, you can understand why they did this way. However, I do wish there were a couple scenes that they would have done maybe a bit more clever. One scene that definitely stands out in my mind as a poorly handled scene is whenever Booth is first talking to the victim's father. I wish they could have done it in a way where they're filming from afar, or they're watching, you know, we've got the footage of, you know, the conference room where he's talking to him, something like that. But to have the cameraman like standing right outside the window, and even like they pull back and show him taking that footage. I'm just like, really? Like this is a hard moment for the dad. And one, why would you be filming like that? And two, the father doesn't even react. You know, like when I was sitting there watching it, I'm thinking, if this were a real scene, the dad would be sitting there, like, what are all these cameras? What is going on? My son is dead, and you're sitting here filming it. Are you sick, you crazy people? Which his reaction at the end when Booth kind of accuses him of, possibly killing his son, his reaction there was really well done. But I do think the whole filming thing in that moment was very weird. It was very awkward. It didn't flow very well with the story. And there were a couple other scenes where I'm just like, they should be doing the filming a lot more clever instead of just sticking the camera right in front of their face, and then these people aren't even reacting to it. So anyway, it's kind of a nitpick, but at the same time, it's something that you want to get right, because this show does have a lot of problems, and you need to fix the little problems as well as the big problems. So, all in all, it was a good episode. I could actually sit down and enjoy it, but there still have distracting moments where I'm sitting there being distracted by my frustration. So, take the good with the bad. That's all I can really say at this point. The fact that there are good things about this episode should be something that makes you happy. Like there's been so much bad with this show. It's nice to see that they're fixing some things. So can't wait to see what's gonna happen. I think we've got 2 weeks until the next episode, so more waiting. Can't believe how long into the summer this is going. Like all the other shows have been done for 2 weeks or a week now, and let's just go all the way into June and July. Why not? So anyway, those are my thoughts on this episode. Let me know what you think down below. What do you want to see them do for the final few episodes of the season? And yeah, let me know. We can discuss it. I'll see you guys at the next review. Peace out.